Okay, I got less than 10 minutes. It's windy, which means this microphone might suck, but you know, shitty first drafts, right? Uh, the Casey Newton interview with Dylan, whose last name escapes me right now, on Adobe acquiring Figma, I thought was interesting for a couple of reasons. One, well, we'll start with these sort of like block quotes of what Dylan had to say. People are really wanting creative assets. So, like, for example, 3D video, imaging, vector illustration. These are all things that people are requesting in the context of product design. And the ability to then take those and go into creative use cases too and build creative tools that are web first, browser first, collaborative. I'm pretty excited about that. Now, this is Zoink talking about where Figma has yet to go, where they see their opportunity. And I couldn't agree more. The the person who made the existing Adobe suite sing, that person is now expected to produce 3D models, interactive storytelling, 120 hertz motion playback, a level of asset which, quite frankly, like, say what you will about After Effects and all of the state-of-the-art tools that Adobe has put into the market for a very long time, they're kind of a step change in what somebody's going to create or what they ought to be capable of creating, what the tools ought to provide them. And on top of that, the opportunities to push these tools as far to sort of the edge as possible has never been greater, right? The When I was a kid, Adobe Photoshop was a boxed piece of software that cost hundreds of dollars to get access to. So the barrier just to become somebody who pokes around and teaches themselves in a very, beginner's mind sense how to use the state of the art creative asset production tools was significantly higher a generation ago. Whereas today, for a variety of reasons, right, you're able to deliver richer application experiences in a browser, network connectivity has improved significantly, a whole bunch of technical reasons. Um, the tools that can produce state of the art creative assets can be delivered over a browser. And in some cases, in Figma's case at least, they they can be made available for free. Like, that's a fundamental change. Couple that with the fact that the generation who are at the age where, if I speak for myself, where I was when I first got a hold of a copy of Photoshop, what are their expectations of computing? What is the water that they swim in, and how is it different from the way it used to be when, broadly speaking, Adobe became the juggernaut that it is today? Ubiquitous networking wasn't an expectation then. Uh, State-of-the-art devices running modern operating systems that are laden with sensors and physical capabilities that weren't even possible in some cases, but at the very least required extensive hardware budgets in order to be able to have, right? Like, you could shoot video and suck it into Premiere in 1995, but it's materially easier and table stakes for anybody in the sort of developed world using the sort of tools that that run Figma, quite frankly. So that's the first thing that I think is worth talking about. The second thing that I think is worth talking about is this quote. Again, Zoink. It's natural for people to want to make their presentations, their whiteboarding, and their documents better designed, and also have all sorts of creative assets. How do you make it so they're able to do that? And let them make stuff and do things that normally would take 12 hours in 2 minutes. It goes on. I think there's just a ton of possibility here. It feels like kind of the early 90s of the internet in a way that I think is very exciting. And I also put this in the blog post. I feel a deep sense of responsibility to figure out the best way for creatives to utilize this productivity and for it to be a collaboration between AI and humans versus something else. So he's talking about two things here. First one, the expectation of the average human being connected to the internet today for how well designed, in the very sort of traditional sense, information architecture, graphic design, user experience, interface design, the expectation's higher. It's way higher. That's a good thing. And as a result, people who experience superior design in one area of their life, quite naturally, I think, come to look at other areas of their life and go, but why not here? Right? Like, why do I have to do it this way? Right? I mean, maybe it's a bad analogy or too far afield for some folks. I charge a device, it now has enough electricity to do all the things I ask it to do until it runs out of electricity. By comparison, every time I want to do, every time I want to run my dishwasher, I have to manually add soap every time. Uh, what would the world be like if every time you wanted to use your computer, you had to first stop and charge it for 15 minutes? It wouldn't make any sense. In part, what I'm saying here is that it aggravates me that I don't already live in a world where the baseline dishwasher experience is you load a month's worth of soap and then the machine just deals with dispensing soap. I know it's possible if I go spend a preposterous amount of money on a dishwasher, but you get the point. So, living in a world where people have better expectations of design necessitates tools which allow people who are responsible for writing documents, producing spreadsheets, whiteboarding with their colleagues to have a better experience there, right? Page layout is still a thing if produce a print magazine or marketing collateral. But quite frankly, the fact that it's not easy enough to write in plain text and maybe wrap a little markdown around it and then spit out exactly what you want the final document to look like. Again, that's a thing that's within reach today if you have the right level of technical aptitude. But you can always lower that bar. And I think that's what Zoink's talking about here. The second thing is about Dolly and AI driven creative tools. And those are tools which, suffice it to say, what he's underwriting here is it's better for us to head toward a world where the human being plays a role in instructing the AI to produce an outcome. And in the same way that you had people who really know how to get the most out of Photoshop or really know how to get the most out of Excel, the opportunity here is going to be to create, uh, quite frankly, jobs. This is the thing that Friedberg on the All In podcast has mentioned more than once, where interacting with the AI, crafting the prompt in order to get an ideal result, it's going to become a job opportunity. It sounds bizarre, but it's going to become a job opportunity. Um, and then in conclusion, because I'm over time, frankly, I think that Casey asking these questions and Dylan responding to them in the way that he is underscores the my personal belief that inside of this decade, Dylan should take Scott Belsky's job. He should be running all of product for Adobe. Because to the extent that Adobe wants to continue to own and control the creative tools space, this is absolutely where the puck is going. So Dylan understands the direction he needs to skate. I don't know enough about Belsky. I'm not making any claims about Belsky's effectiveness in his role. I'm simply saying, without hearing much from Belsky, it's clear to me Dylan sees where the creative tool space needs to get to. Anyway, 12 minutes. Got to go to work. That's all I have to say.